Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachach Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopefully elect. All right. Brother Azariah here with the Pittsburgh GMS camp. And I just want to go into this lesson. I'm going to title this lesson, Things in the Bible that Esau cannot relate to, you know? And there are plenty of things in the Bible that Esau and you other nations cannot really relate to, you know, and that do not apply to you at all. And that it's really a shame that you will go and try to falsify history, you know. But that goes back to that covering that you cast over all nations. Let me just get that real quick. Isaiah 25:7. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. You know, so you spread a veil over all nations, falsified history, and you're deceiving the nations into believing your narrative, you know. And so I just want to get a few scriptures that directly, like I said, apply to the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans that your Edomites cannot relate to, you know. So let's start here, Deuteronomy 28:54. You know, this is just one of them. Then I'm gonna get into some other more deeper things. Deuteronomy 28:54, which is one of the curses that will fall upon the Israelites if they disobeyed the Most High, which we know that no one on this earth right now is 100% keeping the laws and statutes and commandments, which equals disobedience, you know. So therefore, by default, the Israelites would be under these curses, as is depicted in this chapter. Deuteronomy 28:54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. And when you look at the statistics, let's just start with the children aspect. The single parent home ratio from black to white, so-called black, Latino, and Native American, to so-called white, which you are red, you are Edomites, red Hebrew Edomites. And no one is actually the color black, you know, such as these words. No one is this color. But anyway, moving forward, when you look at the ratio and statistics, there are more single-parent homes for so-called black, Latino, and Native Americans, disproportionately so than they are for Edomites. Most Edomites grow up with both parents in the home. You know, Edomites, so-called white people. You know, so this doesn't apply to you Edomites. Okay. Also, for the longest time, you guys have had the system of control where you have kept Jake on the outer edge of society, like redlining and things of that nature, where you will look out for another Edomite, another so-called white man, and you will put Jake in a position of difficulty where he cannot get a loan, he cannot get a house, but you would give that to your own people. That's not here. That's not your eye being evil towards your brother. Where on the flip side, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans will rob one another and do one another dirty before you do one of these people of these other nations dirty or greasy. So your eye is evil towards your brother, and also towards your wife. You know, our eye is evil towards our wives, because, you know, amen, our wives are out of order, but also because of the curses, you know. Because even when a man has a so-called good woman, sometimes he does it wrong. You know, that's just the facts of it, you know. And toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. And like I said, we already went into that single parent home. But let's get into some more scriptures that have nothing to do with you so-called Edomites. Joel 3:6. And also I'm gonna get into a little bit into history on this just briefly, and then we'll go, you know, this should be a quick lesson. Joel 3:6. And the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. So when were you so-called white people sold unto other so-called white people? Because you proudly claim Alexander the Greek and proudly claim that you are the Grecians. You proudly claim that. So when were you sold when were you, if you are the real Jews, when were you sold to the Grecians? It doesn't work like that. Now, also you have to look at something here. After the Assyrian captivity, the northern kingdom left. The majority of the northern kingdom left and went across the world and came over to America. You know, whether you believe that or not, that's what actually happened. For those in the know, then you know, look it up. The book of Ezra was used, which is it's not popular knowledge. It's not well spread knowledge because it's condemning knowledge. but it's known amongst us, especially here at GMS. You know, we've come across the information that shows you, and they even show you in a movie. I forget what it's called, but where Christopher Columbus discussed using the Book of Esdras to chart out his path to the Americas. And when he got here, there were Hebrew-speaking Northern Kingdom, so-called Latino Native American tribes already residing on this land. But the point I'm making is during the time of the Assyrian captivity, afterwards, the Northern Kingdom left. The 10 tribes left, okay? And they went to another land. So that was before the Grecian captivity. So when were the children of Judah and the children of Israel sold together? When the 10 tribes had already left to practice their customs in another land, okay? All right, and this is in the Old Testament, you know? So when were they talking about, like, I mean, anyway, this is the Old Testament, and it goes into the Grecians, and it just kind of shows you. So it says right here, like it says, you sold them unto the Grecians, right? So let's get that word. And the word in the Hebrew is Yahweh Naya. Yahweh Naya, you know? Not Yavan, not this Yiddish stuff. It's Yahweh Naya. Okay, and it goes into Grecian or Ionian. You know, descendant of Yawan, Grecian. Then it goes down and it talks about from this province being more to the east and better known than the rest of Greece than the Orientals. Its name applied in their languages to the whole of Greece. This has been expressly remarked by Greek writers themselves. This place has been remarked by Greek writers themselves. And I think there was another one where it said, yeah. Anyway, it's referred to as the whole of Greece. But this is talking about the Grecians. So let's get some proof, according to the scriptures, that they were not sold together to the Grecians, because the bulk of them had left. There may have been a few scattered in, but this is talking about a later time where you actually sold us, you know, where we were actually sold unto you Grecians, you so-called white people, you Edomites, okay? Second Ezra 13 and 41, but they took this counsel among themselves. Matter of fact, Second Ezra 13 and I'll start at 39. Whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, these are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Shalmaneser the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. Then it tells you the path where they went. They entered into the Euphrates by the narrow places of the river, and the Most High showed them signs and held still the flood until they were passed over. So they took their boats over here to the Americas, you know. And like I said, there's a bunch of, you know, different history and books that prove it, you know. Hey, but those who want to remain ignorant will remain ignorant, and you know, that's just up to that's the will of the Most High for you, you know. Baruch 4 and 6, you know. So just going, like I said, let's just read here in the Maccabees, just showing you that later on. Let's see, do I want to go into this right now? No, I'm just going back into the point where it says we were sold into our enemies, man. You know, sold into our enemies. Baruch 4 and 6. You were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved the Most High to wrath, you were delivered unto the enemies. So when did this happen to you so-called Jews? When were you sold? When were you sold? Okay, all that old fake concentration camp shit. When were you put on auctioning blocks and sold to the highest bidder? Sold the nigger over there. Sold to the fine gentleman here. 2 nigger bucks and a nigger wench. You weren't never sold on no auctioning block like the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans were. And yes, the Native Americans and Latinos were sold. Okay? They were sold. They were taken from the land of America and sold over in Spain, I believe it was. See if I can get that. I know the brother quotes it all the time, but that half has never been told. Anyway, Native Americans. You can even look into the the whole thing of Geronimo, which I really don't want to go too deep into it. I'm just gonna get like, Geronimo's account. And when you go into Geronimo, he was taken away to here. What's it, Geronimo? I don't want to get all deep into it, but there was a Native American, from what I read, that was here in the Americas whenever the conquistadors and stuff came back, and he showed them how to live on the land. Anyway, I'm not gonna go into Salakia. I'm not gonna go deep into it because I wasn't prepared to go into that right now. So I'm gonna just keep going into what I'm doing. Baruch 4:6, you were sold to the nations not for your destruction, but because you moved the Most High to wrath, you were delivered unto the enemy. So how does this relate anything to you Edomites? How does this have anything to do with you Edomites? Okay, let's see here. Okay, close tabs to the right. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, which this Lord of Sabaoth means the Lord of armies. The Lord of armies. So when did you so-called white people, you Edomites, reap fields? When did you go out and pick fields and pick cotton and pick fruit and pick peaches and then have the wages of your work be held back by fraud? When did that happen to y'all? This is the book of James in the New Testament. When did that happen to you? When did you cry out into to the Lord because you reaped down the fields and the money was held back from you? This doesn't apply to you so-called white people, you other nations. This doesn't apply to you. When did this happen to you? Now, granted, there are small pockets of these things going on in different places, like where you got sweatshops and slave labor. But, Jake has been scattered in across the four corners of the earth. So a lot of them people in them slave shops is probably Jake anyway. There's probably some heathens in there too. But that ain't what I'm talking about. The point is, as on a mass scale, it's been recorded that here in the Americas, this place Babylon the Great, you had the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, primarily the so-called blacks, the Judites, Benjamites, and Levites, build up this place, and you held back the money of it by fraud, and you continue to do so to this day, where you have all these establishments built up off the money, but Jake don't get none of that, So these are just some of the scriptures that just really show you this doesn't really apply to you nations, man. This stuff doesn't apply to you nations. Let's get one more. Let's get one more. And this is the one that we all know. Revelation 13:9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. So if you have understanding, let you understand. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Wait a minute. Why are we talking about captivity? You so-called white people never been slaves. Not on the scale that Jake was, if y'all want to claim white slavery. That's not a big prominent part of history, but it's well known that so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans were slaves, man. Primarily, like I said, the Southern Kingdom is well documented, but the other tribes were in slavery too, to you Edomites, you so-called white people. So why are we talking about captivity? You that ain't something y'all can relate to, He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So the patience and the faith of the saints of the Most High are that their enemies that took them into captivity are going to be led into captivity. That's their faith and their patience. They have faith and they patiently wait on that. Well, where's this big ass group of Edomite Christians that are waiting for people who have put them into slavery, which never happened, to get put into slavery? How does this apply to you so-called Christians out there? This is the patience and the faith of the saints. So how does this apply to you? You can't be a saint if this ain't what you waiting on, man. So you Edomites, this has nothing to do with you, man. Nothing at all. And you other nations neither, man. Nothing. Okay. And the other scripture slips my mind at this moment, so I'm gonna just take that as that's the end of this lesson. You know, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Harakak Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopefully elect. With that, I'm gonna say Shalom.